Welcome to the Man of Recaps. This is Dark Season 3. At the end of Season 2, the apocalypse was starting in Winden. Marta was just shot by Jonas's older self Adam, but another Marta came in with black hair and bangs like, hey, I'm from another world, let's peace out of here. She and Jonas pop up in her world, but in typical Dark fashion, she doesn't tell him what he's supposed to do and just leaves him to figure it out. So welcome to Earth 2, aka Mirror World. Marta is filling Jonas's role in this world, wearing his yellow rain jacket and everything. And in fact, she's living in his house, but everything is backwards. Yeah, it's super trippy. The Nielsens are living in Jonas's house because in this reality, Ulrich left Katarina for Hannah, who is now pregnant. But Ulrich can't help himself. In this reality, he's cheating on his wife Hannah with his co-worker Charlotte Doppler. There's a lot of other fun minor changes, like Magnus has black hair and tattoos. He's still dating Franziska Doppler, but in this one, she's deaf and her sister Elizabeth can speak. Also, Eye Patch Cop Waller has both his eyes here, but he's lost an arm, and we still don't have any idea why. Jonas tracks down Marta, but this version of her hasn't time traveled yet and doesn't recognize him at all, because on the night the gang goes to explore the caves, Mikkel was sound asleep in bed. He never travels back, and Jonas is never born. Jonas meets old Marta, who is a mirror of his older self Adam. In fact, there's a whole Adam and Eve theme going on. She goes by Eva. She's like, hey Jonas, the apocalypse is coming to this world too in just a few days. You need to stop it. Jonas has spent 2 seasons now doing what older time travelers have told him to, and they've basically all lied to him, but she's like, no, you can trust me, this time it's for real. Now, the slightly older Marta that saved Jonas from the apocalypse has traveled way back to 1888. Here she finds, doing some cool old-timey experiments, adult Jonas. Yeah, when he and the teenagers escaped the apocalypse, they accidentally traveled way back here. Jonas is super happy to see Marta alive, but she's got to break the bad news to him. No, I'm not your Marta, I'm from Earth 2. Their time machine is out of juice, so they're all stuck here, but they have an old blind man patron who's helping them reinvent time travel because he's part of Sigmundus. This is Old Man Tannhaus. Yes, he's a descendant of Winden's time travel clockmaker. Turns out Adam is not the founder of Sigmundus, it's the Tannhaus family legacy, going back to when this guy's dad tried to invent time travel to bring back his dead wife. Anyway, Marta has 1 orb of time travel juice left and offers to share it with them to help jumpstart their time travel experiment, but they don't have the calculations right yet, it's not working, and Marta's disappeared. Yeah, she lied to them, she's got plenty of juice left and pieces out of there, leaving them stranded in 1880s. Turns out right now she's working for Adam, Jonas's older self. He's gathered all of Sigmundus here in the future and claims to have the solution to finally fix this whole time travel mess. Now there's a new character this season who has no name, but I'll call him Creepy Cleft Lip Man. In fact, he travels around with his younger and older selves. Yeah, they're the Cleft Lip Trio. He roams around the timeline, pulling out his strangle string and killing minor characters while his younger and older self watch. In the aftermath of the World 1 apocalypse, Peter and Elizabeth Doppler are going around looking for their family, but Charlotte Doppler was transported to the far future where she's hanging out with a grown-up Elizabeth, who she just found out is her daughter and her mother. All things considered, they process it pretty well. Back in the immediate post-apocalypse, a young Noah's befriending a young Elizabeth, but her father doesn't trust him, and he's right not to trust people because the post-apocalypse is full of desperate scavengers. Oh, they end up in a big fight, and Elizabeth kills this guy, but not before he killed her father. She runs off and teams up with Noah. That's how these two end up together. Elsewhere in the immediate post-apocalypse, Claudia Tiedemann is starting to piece together this whole time travel puzzle. Her daughter Regina survived in the bunker with them, but she's still dying of cancer. Now, Claudia was not married, and Regina's father is unknown. In the 80s, she was having an affair with Trond Nielsen, and we find out that goes way back to when they were teenagers, so Trond Nielsen is probably Regina's father. In fact, an older Trond Nielsen shows up now in the post-apocalypse like, hey, sorry, you're probably my daughter, but I've gotta smother you with this pillow. This is the first of multiple parent-child murders this season, so watch out for that. Jonas's mom, Hannah, traveled back to the 1950s last season, and she did in fact start up an affair with young Egon Tiedemann. It's all fun and games until she gets pregnant. Long story short, they fight about it and she leaves to start a new life. Egon apologizes to his wife, but she's still in love with Agnes Nielsen, her lesbian girlfriend from last season who's gone missing now to do time travel stuff. Anyway, she wants a divorce and Egon starts turning into the old drunk cop from the 80s we know. Katarina Nielsen has time traveled to the 80s to find her son Mikkel, who is now missing still. Turns out he and his adopted mom are laying low after Mikkel was kidnapped by the crazy old man last season. Katarina tracks this crazy old man down and it is her old husband Ulrich. She makes a plan to break him out of here. They're not experienced enough time travelers to have the idea to go back to the 50s when he was still young. Anyway, turns out a nurse who works here is Katarina's mother. She was a bad abusive mom though, so Katarina goes to mug her like, hey, give me your key card. But bad mom fights back and ends up killing her daughter. Parent-child murder number 2. Now on Earth 2, Jonas tracks down Marta like, hey, I'm your time-traveling boyfriend-nephew from an alternate world. I need your help to stop the apocalypse. Marta's had just a weird enough few days to be like, yeah, I guess I'll follow this stranger into the caves. He takes her through the time travel tunnel where they go to the Earth 2 future. This apocalypse blew everything into desert. They meet up with adult Marta who fills him in. Yeah, the apocalypse is coming. You guys gotta go stop it. This is a lot for young Marta to process, but Jonas is here to help her through it and they start smooching. And wait a second, no time travelers are coming to cockblock them this time. These two finally get it on. But just then, on Earth 1, a slightly older Marta's getting the news from Adam. Yeah, she's preggers. One time's all it took, and turns out her and Jonas's son is the start of this whole messed up family family tree! Their son is creepy cleft lip guy, and we see from the family tree that he got with Agnes Nielsen, so he is Trond Nielsen's father, the progenitor of the Nielsen family line, of which Marta and Jonas are both descended. They are their own great-great-grandparents! But on Earth 2, they don't know this yet. They're breaking into the nuclear power plant to stop the apocalypse. But on the way in, Marta gets a cut under her eye, the same cut that the Marta who rescued him from the apocalypse had. Jonas is like, hold up, we're not changing anything, we're just causing the cycle to repeat. Our older selves lied to us again. They go to confront Eva, who's like, yeah, sorry, I totally lied to you. I'm not trying to stop the apocalypse, I want to keep the loop intact. And in fact, Jonas, your part in it is over. Just then, an even more slightly older Marta, who's now got a big scar, comes out. Sorry about this, and oh, shoots Jonas. A scarring, tragic moment for her younger self. Why would she do this? Wait a second though, Jonas can't die here because we've seen his older selves. How does this work? Old Eva tries to explain that at the moment of the apocalypse, time stands still for a fraction of a second. That loophole allows multiple timelines to exist simultaneously, the one we saw where Marta takes him to Earth 2, and the normal one where he hides in the basement and grows into his older selves. Quantum entanglement makes sense, right? Yeah, good enough. So now on Earth 2, it's the day of the apocalypse. It happens a lot sooner on this Earth because the whole investigation they cut through pretty quick. Alexander Tiedemann, for instance, comes clean about his fake identity. It has nothing to do with time travel, it's just normal mundane, accidentally killed a guy and assumed a fake identity. He also comes clean about the radioactive waste, and they open the barrels much earlier, so it's Apocalypse Blob. Marta is racing to stop it with her Earth 2 long-haired Bartosz. But this is Adam's big moment. He's sending all of Sigmundus back to important points in the timeline, including an older Magnus and Franziska to stop Marta like, hey, sorry Eva lied to you. You gotta come with us and work for Adam. We can stop the apocalypse for real. So Marta's caught up to her slightly older self who rescued Jonas from the apocalypse, but now in the future, Adam's got her tied up. He's like, 66 years I've been searching for the origin, and turns out it is our baby. Real sorry about this, but the only way to fix the timeline is to human sacrifice you now. So boom, it's apocalypse in Earth 2, and with the power of the apocalypse, Marta's disintegrated. But nothing happens. Adam doesn't fade from existence because Eva's got her own troops going around. She doesn't want to erase the loop, she wants to keep it intact because she says life is better than nothingness. She sends an older Bartosz to rescue his younger self and go find Marta when she's about to rescue Jonas, say, hey, Adam's gonna betray you, you gotta come back with me. So because of the loophole, the second Marta exists, and Eva, gives her the scar, introduces her to her son, and is like, hey, the only way to save him and all of us is for you to go kill Jonas. Now, there's a great episode that travels all around through time, filling in the details of things we could mostly assume. Normal Jonas survived the apocalypse in his basement and worked with Claudia Tiedemann to try to make the time travel blob. After a while, he lost hope, but met up with young Noah, who showed him, hey man, you can't die because you need to grow into Adam, we're gonna save the world. So the three of them spent 30-ish years together in the apocalypse trying to turn the God particle into the time travel blob. Noah and Elizabeth had a beautiful relationship where she's like, tell me about paradise, and he's like, paradise is gonna be wonderful, baby, trust me. They built a life together in the post-apocalyptic wasteland, and these two are super cute. Until one day, older Elizabeth came with her mom-daughter Charlotte and kidnapped baby Charlotte. Yes, she kidnapped her own baby from herself because now she believes that's the only way to really make paradise happen. Losing his daughter sent Noah down a dark path, and when they eventually figured out time travel, he ended up working for Adam, who was like, hey, by killing the kids and inventing time travel is the only way you can actually save your daughter. But of course we know Adam's lying to him again. One day in the far past, Jonas's mom Hannah shows up with her daughter by Egon Tiedemann, and though he spent his life swearing it would never happen, Jonas is becoming Adam. After Earth 2 Marta betrayed him, it sent him down a dark path, and they spent years trying to fix time travel, which, he ended up getting pretty burned, we can assume. Hannah was sent here by Eva, who at this point Adam doesn't trust at all, so sorry mom, but he smothers his mom! Child parent murder number 3. He grabs his half-sister named Celia and sends her to the future because yeah, that's the girl with the scar we met in season 2. Then later, an older Adam sends her back to the 1880s to meet and fall in love with Bartosz. They have a son together, and turns out Bartosz is Noah's father. Tragically, we know that older Bartosz is teenage Noah's first kill, so that's child parent murder number 4. And remember, Noah's sister is Agnes Nielsen, who fathers Trond with Marta and Jonas's son, so Bartosz had a big role to play. He's super important to the family tree. And so all our characters grow into their future selves and reenact seasons 1 and 2, thinking that now they're doing the real thing to save the timeline, but unfortunately all their stories end tragically. And so at the end of Jonas's journey, he kills Marta and his unborn son, trying to erase the timeline, but it doesn't work. Who's this creeping around the corner though? It is old Claudia Tiedemann, the time travel master. She fills him in on why his plan didn't work because Eva grabbed an alternate Martha and they still have the baby. But all hope is not lost because there's a final twist. There's not just 2 Earths, there's 3! Yeah, in retrospect, this whole show's been about 3s. You really should have seen that coming. See, early on, Claudia was approached by her Earth 2 self and recruited her to work for Eva to keep the loop intact. But Claudia doesn't like this loop because her daughter Regina still dies. In fact, it's Claudia who sends Trond Nielsen back to kill Regina to motivate her younger self. Turns out Trond is not the father. Now, because Trant is not Regina's father, Regina's not part of this crazy time travel family tree. If she can break the loop, Regina can live. So Claudia actually kills her Earth 2 doppelganger and replaces her on Eva's team. She spends her life traveling between the two worlds, learning everything about both, and finally infers the existence of a third world, the real world. Yes, turns out the real start of this loop is Tannhaus the Clockmaker. When his son and family died in a car crash, he took up his family's ancient legacy to try to invent time travel. Turns out he kind of succeeded by splitting his world into two and opening the time travel wormhole in them. So if they can get to the origin world and stop his family from dying, they can finally fix this whole mess. So back during the Earth 1 apocalypse loophole, Adam creates a new timeline where he goes to see Jonas minutes after he just shot Marta. He grabs him though and warps him out of there like, hey, sorry I just shot Marta, I'm an older Adam now and I realized I was actually the bad guy. I know I've done nothing but lie to you so far, telling you that this time we can really fix things, but this time we can really fix things. So Jonas finds Earth 2 Marta about to be picked up by Sigmundus and, to be dramatic, puts the time machine in his pocket and runs an time travel tackle. This Marta just saw Jonas die, and this Jonas has never met Earth 2 Marta, but Annie, Jonas, and Marta have a deep connection, and she's had just a weird enough few days to follow him into the caves again. So at the moment when Tannhaus Prime fires up his machine, it opens up the passage, and boom, we're in the real world. Tannhaus is having a normal mundane argument with his son, who's like, hey, even though it's dark and rainy, we're gonna drive home tonight. But appearing on the road, it's Jonas and Marta, and oh no, for a second we think maybe they caused the accident, but luckily it doesn't go that way. He's like, hey, what are you two doing in the road? And they're like, the bridge ahead is closed? So he goes back to his dad's, hey, we'll just leave in the morning, and they do not die in a car crash tonight. And yes, Jonas and Marta are Thanos snap disappearing. We're a perfect match, never believe anything else. And these two fade out of existence. Both worlds we know erased from existence, which is a good thing because on the whole they were pretty bad. Jonas and Marta made the sacrifice, but it's all thanks to old Claudia Tiedemann who figured it out. So now in the present of the one and only real world, all the characters who weren't part of the crazy time travel family tree are living normal happy lives. This includes Claudia's daughter Regina, who we see from the family photo. Her father was old burned Doppler. Definitely a bit creepy because he was a grown-ass man when she was a preteen, but from the photo they seem like a happy family, and I guess a 25-year age difference isn't that bad compared to, being your own great-great-grandparents. Anyway, in this world, Hannah is with Eye Patch Cop Waller. His eye is injured, but it's gonna be okay, and we're just about to finally find out what happened when, the power goes out. Now I need answers. Hannah gets a weird feeling of deja vu when she sees a yellow rain jacket, but it's like, I guess it was nothing. She is in fact pregnant and thinks to herself, I might name the baby Jonas, and that's how Dark comes to an end. Hit that subscribe button for more of the best recaps of TV and movies, and click the join button to support the channel and be a recap champion.